Okay, so welcome back. Here we go. In the last video, last exercise, we did two things. We did the favorite client exercise where we had the person and we wrote their name, and there were 6 questions we had to fill out and really reflect on to get some new insights, new chunks of wisdom and new perspectives on their experience of the world. And then we went in through this table here where we highlighted exactly what mistakes, what silly things that they were doing day in, day out that are generating the results that are not favorable, the perceptions and the beliefs that are driving those mistakes and how it leaves them feeling. And obviously we start with the mistakes, we go through the perception that generates those mistakes, that makes the result happen, that leaves them with the feeling. And now that we've gone through that, so hopefully you've filled out that table. If you haven't, please download the sheet and do that work because it's critical for the next piece, which we're going to go into now. So the next piece of this is the 2 questions bit. Now, there is a table like of the last one that we are going to go to. It's going to come in a second. There's a sequence of activities that we have to go through in order to do this work properly. But the next piece is now the 2 questions, because what we need to do is start getting a language around who you are identifying to be in this world, and how you can deliver that in such a way that it gives that person you're speaking to an absolutely no-brainer decision that yes, they've absolutely got to have that conversation with you, which is what niching and positioning is all about. It's telling people why they should talk to you. And so what we have to have here is, obviously you've done the work now. There's quite a lot going on in this piece, so I'll just break it down a little bit first. But you've got the person that you were just doing that exercise on. Obviously you've got their name there, so you've written that. It's, obviously the client, the favorite client you work with or have worked with or continue to work with. They're facing a bunch of problems, and those problems are moving them in a direction. And obviously they're sitting there going, holy shit, I've got these problems, these things are going on, I'm feeling like this, something's not right, I need to correct something, or I need to do something, or I need to take an action of some description. And so they're sitting there going, holy shit. So what you can then do is go, hey, it's okay. So I've little lines there. It's okay, follow me. And then when you say something like follow me, if that's the gesture you're putting forward, they're obviously going to ask a question then why? Like, why should I follow you? Why should I work with you? Why should I talk to you at all? And you're going to say because. You're going to have to answer that question. And this is where your positioning comes in. So the whole idea is that now you start to talk about who you are, not what you do, who you are, right? And so the whole idea of positioning is to go, okay, I need to figure out who I am, and who I am is dictating the actions that I take, and the actions that I take is dictating and governing the results that I get. And so there's 2 questions that I ask around this, is to figure out who you are. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a character. It doesn't have to, I'm an animal or a rabbit or something like that. That's not how this has to play out. It can be something that alludes to who you are, and I'll go through an example about that in a second. But your identity is exactly what you need to start putting in place, not promoting or pushing, but just putting there in place in front of the people who are experiencing the problems that you solve. And so your identity now starts to come through, and we use 2 questions to begin to flesh that out a little bit further, because it can be something that can be really difficult to get out. And so the first question is, what do you do? So obviously when I ask a question like what do you do, if I'm talking to a range of people, often the answers I get back to around this, and obviously write your answers to this question. Actually just pause this for a second and write the answer to your question, this first question now. What do you do? So pause. And if you're anything like some of the people I know, you're probably not going to pause this, you'll just continue watching. So in which case I'm going to delay and delay and delay and delay while you get in and do the work. What do you do? What do you do? Right? So some of the examples that I get back when I ask this first question include things like I'm an electrician, I'm a plumber, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a hairdresser. What do you do? I fix things, I do things. So, what do you do? So you meet someone in the street, it's a general question, hey, what do you do with yourself? And, I'm a bang, right? So first, general or the usual answer is I am something, blank, right? I am blank. And look, that's all well and good. However, 9 times out of 10, I see this and I hear it and I go, yeah, that's nice. However, when you talk about what you do and you say, I am this, I'm an electrician, I'm a plumber, I'm a financial planner, I'm an architect, I'm a whatever it might be, I am, that is focused around you. It still doesn't tell people why they should talk to you. And that's the problem, because remember, we're in a relationship economy. And the whole idea of doing this work is to lay the foundation for the person you're speaking to have the conversation with you, not the other way around. So the intent has to be, how do we put this in front of someone in such a way that allows them the confidence and the certainty and the security to be able to go, I need to have a chat with you. So obviously that's a nice way to have it. Rather than you having to push out what it is that you do into the market, we need to lay the foundation that's going to allow people to have that conversation with us. And so the first question, what do you do? It's a very general question. Your default answer will come out during this. If you haven't already written it down, please write it down. What do you do? And then we'll go through the next question, which will start to highlight the flip on the language that we need in order to create that nice little piece of positioning for you. So I'm going to go into that second question now. If you haven't paused it and answered that first question, please do that. But if you haven't done it by now, that's on you. So the next question, what do you really do? What do you really do? So the first question is, what do you do? I am this, I do this, you talk about your job, your occupation, your job title, whatever it might be. And then, then we can go through the second question, was what do you really do? Now we start to identify, okay, well, if that's not what it is that you actually really do, now this question is starting to pull that out. So I'll best explain this second question by using an example. And the example that I use is the example that probably everyone who's already been through what I do has heard. And that's the example of Adrian, the audiologist. So I was running a room of people. I had people in front of me, obviously. Thanks for the wise insight, Kevin. But I was running a room and I went through this exercise and I asked the first question and I said, what do you do? And I went around the room and everyone told me what they did. I'm an electrician, I'm a plumber, I'm a PT, I'm a coach, whatever it might be. And they went through what it is that they did. And I thought, okay, that's interesting and that's all well and good. That's actually really important and we need to have that piece there. Next question, what do you really do? And obviously when I asked that first question, I had Adrian, she was sitting off to my right, and I asked her what she did. She said, I'm an audiologist. And for those who don't know what an audiologist is, they help people with their hearing. They might have hearing difficulties and they, often will go through certain procedures, medical procedures, in order to help them improve their hearing. And so obviously Adrian said, I'm an audiologist. All well and good. Came around and asked a second question. I said, what do you really do? And what do you really do? It made people sort of sit back and have a think for a second, because it's not the common question we start to ask. And so what Adrian did, I could see her, lovely woman, one of the most amazing women I've ever worked with. As a client, she would sit there and she was squirming and she was, kind of having a think about it. And I thought, don't have to come up with it right now. This is not, you don't have to force this out. If you force it out, it probably won't be right. Let's just let it soak. It's like a good marinade. Let it soak for a bit and just let it do its thing. And it'll be the most random time when you'll have this epiphany, this light bulb will go off and it'll be around what it is that you really do. And often we have these moments, if we're having a shower or sitting on the toilet or something, when we're having that space where we disconnect from the daily grind and getting into it, often that's when these things just go bing and all of a sudden you're going, wow, that was it. So a couple of weeks later, I was with a corporate and I was doing some stuff, and I could feel my phone vibrating in my pocket over and over and over again. And I looked at it, and it was Adrian, and she was giving me a call, another call. And I've had quite a few missed calls. And so I broke this corporate into a break, and I ran outside and gave her a call back. And I said, Adrian, I said, what are you doing? Are you okay? Like, I know a lot of people. You've left a lot of missed calls on my phone. I know a lot of people. Where are you? What do you need? I can get someone to you. Bang, bang. You know, what's going on? And she said, Kevin. She said, I'm absolutely fine. I'm great. I've never been better. I'm feeling fantastic. And I was like, you've just left missed calls on my phone. Like, what's going on? She said, I figured out what I really do. And I was like, oh, there you go. It's just come to you. And I said, well, what do you really do? And she said, Kevin, she said, I help people hear life. And I do it through my audiology. And that was the light bulb moment that she needed in order to help her progress in her career with her business and the clients that she works with. And so I'll take a step back. I get excited by this story. So Adrian now positions herself as someone who helps people hear life. I help people hear life. Now, when you've got, say, as an example, if you've got older people, as an example, they've got grandchildren. Obviously, grandparents love playing with their grandchildren, and you know they might be missing out on elements of their grandchildren's lives simply because of their lack of hearing ability. And so what she does is she helps people hear life. People who are missing out on experiences of life because of their hearing, she helps them. And she does that through audiology, which was the answer to the first question. So in actual fact, what starts to happen, if we see what starts to happen here, when we answer this second question, what do you really do? It now turns this first question into how do you do what you do? So what you do, the common default everyday answer you give, is actually the how. It becomes the vehicle to deliver what it is that you do. And the vehicle that's delivering what it is that you do is actually delivering the answer to this second question, what do you really do? And so what we need to do is identify exactly what it is that you really do, go through it, let it sit for a sec, understand based on the problems and the mistakes and the feelings that the person you love to work with is experiencing, right? And start to architect that, if an identity, who you could be that's worthy and able to solve that problem for them, but put words around it, identity-based words around it that allows them to understand why they should talk to you. So my positioning is that I'm a business architect, and the architecture comes through in the way of, hey, I need help, because often a lot of business owners would like to build and grow their business. They're just not sure what to do next, or what their next step has to be, or how to go about building it, building it well. So the architecture and the building element comes through when I talk about business architecture, because it's not about me being a coach. It's not about me being a facilitator or an educator or a mentor. It's about working with the business owner to architect the business of their dreams. And so that comes through as the positioning, business architecture. Adrian's positioning is to help people hear life, and she does it through audiology. And so notice how now it starts to elevate you in the mind of the person you want to work with, which is the whole idea of positioning. So when you go to your clients and you teach them how to talk about who you are, then in the mind of the person they're speaking to, you're being elevated. It starts to separate you away from the noise and from everyone else who claims to do what you do. All the business coaches or the audiologists or the PTs or whatever it might be. It starts to separate you and break you away from that. And it gives what you do, your vehicle, it gives it value, which creates curiosity, which creates engagement, and it creates the opening in the doorway for people in your market that you want to work with to have that conversation with you. Is it different? Is it lying? Yes, it's different. It's not lying. It is exactly who you are. But what we're doing now is we're wrapping language around it that allows people to understand what it means for them, not what you do. So go through this exercise. I'll attach a sheet that's got these two questions on it. Also put the answers to these in the modules where you'll see the questions in there. Put those answers in, we'll discuss it further. Spend the time to do this. This takes time. It doesn't just come to you automatically. Another great example is AJ from Integrity Financial Management. He's now positioning himself as a financial architect, not a financial planner, because what we found was that every time he said financial planner, every person he said it to had a different idea and a perception of what a financial planner was. So they pigeonholed him, and we don't want that to happen to you. So, there's a good chance that if you're telling the world what it is that you do, you're being pigeonholed because everyone has their own belief and perception of what it is that you just said actually is, and it may not be what you actually do. And so for the financial planner, we had to take a step back and away from being a financial planner and actually talk about being a financial architect, because now that starts to give him a new win for the positioning that he's creating for his business, and most importantly, for the clients and the people that he likes working with. So take the time to do this, answer these 2 questions. There are other examples that I'll go through, and I can go through, I can put videos up and whatever else you need, but take the time to do this. This is really important, this piece. Please don't just breeze past it. Let's get clear with what your positioning is, who you are in the minds of your client and the market, and let's wrap language around it that allows you to then to teach people on how to talk about what you do, so you can create referrals, and really start to bring this thing together as your positioning. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.